One of the Phillies' biggest offseason projects is one nobody really seems to be talking about. Discover what it is and if the Phillies can accomplish their goal on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On Phillies is your number one place for daily, Monday through Friday, Philadelphia Phillies content. If you're not familiar with me, you might know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on air over at 97.5 The Fanatic, doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for 6 years. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for the past 4 seasons, and this is now my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. The Phillies have a major offseason project that Dave Dombrowski and the rest of the front office is going to have to undergo. And it is not the one that a lot of people are focusing on. Where's Kyle Schwarber going to end up? Are you paying JT Realmuto? How does that work? And how does this core of Philadelphia Phillies position players work? That's been the main question in the wake of the NLDS loss to the Los Angeles Dodgers. But when you look at the current contract situation for the bullpen, there's a lot of rebuilding there, which is why stay or go for the Phillies pitchers is going to be a very interesting thing to talk about to start today's episode. Coming up later in the episode, we're going to take a deeper dive into Ranger Suarez's free agency situation because he is obviously the biggest name pitcher for the Phillies that will be able to test the free market. And there has been a lot of discourse as to whether or not he should remain a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. So we'll dive into that. And then there was some, I want to say interesting to be respectful, Bryce Harper trade speculation that has been populating after Dave Dombrowski's comments in his end-of-year media availability. I'll remind you what Dombrowski said, and then we'll talk reality with Harper, not assumption or guessing or anything like that. But let's start the stay or go for the Phillies pitchers. The rotation is pretty darn simple because you have a lot of guys still locked down. Jesus Luzardo is not going anywhere. He stays. Christopher Sanchez, long-term deal, stays. Aaron Nola, long-term deal, stays. Zach Wheeler, still signed, stays. Then you get to, let's do Taijuan Walker. Taijuan Walker is an interesting one because a year ago, if I had told you at the end of the season, I'd be saying Taijuan Walker should be a member of this baseball team going forward, you would have called me insane. I would have called me insane. But the year he put together this year was a valuable one for his role. And he probably didn't get enough credit over the course of the season for what he did for this team. And I'm comfortable with him in that kind of swing, long relief, spot start role. He's got another year on his deal. I'm okay with him finishing his deal. So he can stay as well. Now, maybe not a member of the rotation, but an insurance policy for some of the back spots in that rotation. That brings us to Ranger Suarez when it comes to the starters. And we'll get to the bullpen in a second. But Ranger Suarez, for me, he's got to go. And when I say he's got to go, it's not get him out of here like I feel about some other players that we're going to talk about. But the reality with Ranger Suarez is he's going to be expensive, man. And he is one of 5 guys in a rotation that is incredibly talented, but also has the downside of an injury history and not consistent performance over the course of a season. Is he a stone cold killer in the postseason? Yes. Is he incredibly talented when he's healthy? Yes. But is he major long-term deal worth of money allocation to the Philadelphia Phillies with the other guys they have in this rotation? To me, he's not. And that's why he goes. But we'll dive deeper into that later on in the episode. Let's look at the relievers because rebuilding the bullpen is going to be an undertaking for Dave Dombrowski and his staff. This is not going to be easy, folks. And if you're focused on the big name hitters, wait till what you hear about the contract situation that the Phillies have currently in their bullpen. Now, let's talk about the guys that will be back. Jhoan Duran is under team control. I know that his postseason was disappointing based on the level that we expect with his stuff. But he's going to be on this baseball team. Like, he's not going anywhere. Matt Strahm is not going anywhere. With his accomplishments this year, his next year's option vested, so he will be a member of the team again next year. He stays, in my opinion. Now, he would be the one guy that's under contract for this Phillies bullpen that I would most look at as a potential trade piece. And that comes as part of Dave Dombrowski's interesting kind of back and forth with a reporter during his end-of-season media availability, where he was asked about Matt Strahm's comments that they didn't really do PFPs in preparing for the postseason, pitcher fielding practice. And obviously, that would be a large criticism considering their season ended on an error by Ryan Kerkering. Dave Dombrowski refuted that they didn't do PFPs. And then he singled out Matt Strahm and said he didn't do PFPs. And you could tell that Dave Dombrowski was not too pleased with Matt Strahm's comments. Called him inaccurate, or basically called him inaccurate without flat out doing so. So maybe you're at a point where you say, okay, well, Strahm's been a good reliever for us, but we don't like that he's saying that, and we need to change things. Squeaky wheels, you would say, normally get the grease, is how the saying goes. When a team is in the situation that the Phillies are in, squeaky wheels are going to be out of the organization. Just take a look at Nick Castellanos and keep an eye on what happens with him this year. Not saying it's right or wrong to voice your frustrations. Players should have that right. But understand, if you're doing that in a time of such tumultuous roster potential, you're putting a target on your back. I want Strahm to stay, but he's the number one guy that I would look at as a potential trade piece out of the bullpen. Not that you get much for relievers, but keep an eye on that. Something weird is going on there between Strahm and how the front office views him. Now let's look at some of the other guys that will still be here. Tanner Banks is pre-arbitration. He's not yet eligible for it, even though he's 34 years of age. He hasn't reached the service time. He's only got over 2 years, slightly over 2 years of service time. He will be back. He was really good this year. So you've got Duran, you've got Banks, you've got Strahm. Kerkering is a very interesting one. Now, I said Matt Strahm is the number one option for, hey, keep an eye if this guy could get moved. Kerkering is kind of the obvious one, but he's in a category all his own. I would like to see a Ryan Kerkering, the guy, like the talent on this baseball team, but a Ryan Kerkering, the person, has to go. And there's a reason for this, right? I'm not saying he's a terrible person. No. And I like Ryan Kerkering. I really do. He's been a great story for this team, and I think he's a talented pitcher. But he has certain things that he hasn't worked out, and it led to him being in big spots he wasn't prepared for. And when you are the face of the end of a series, the way that Ryan Kerkering was for this year's NLDS, it's going to be hard for you to ever win back this fan base. It just is. It's not a good place for him to be. And maybe the Phillies say, forget that. He's talented. We trust him. We're keeping him. But I think it would be better for both parties to find new homes. A new guy in that spot, and a Ryan Kerkering gets moved. So I would say go for a Ryan Kerkering for the betterment of both sides of that equation. He's talented, but my goodness, I don't know how you come back and pitch in front of this crowd after the end to the NLDS. Again, not trying to put it all on him. That's reality of the situation. Some of the guys that are free agents. David Robertson, he can go. If you need to bring him back at the age of 87 next year, partway through the year, I don't know. More power to you, I guess. But David Robertson's not a guy that you're going to sign to a contract at his age for a season. He would be a late season addition for some team if he wants to continue to pitch. But he can go. Jordan Romano. Do you really need me to say it? Hit the bricks. I'm sorry. Can't see Jordan Romano ever wear a Phillies uniform again. Bad season, has had a good career, did not have a good year here in Philadelphia at all. He's gone. He's got to be gone. You cannot bring him back. There is no way in the world that he comes back. Tim Meza, I apologize. He's a free agent. He can go. Walker Buehler, he's a free agent. He can go. Those were just late season additions. But then Jose Alvarado is the last guy we'll talk about, and he is a very interesting case because Dave Dombrowski said that he'll more than likely be back. Guess what? If you do that, I'm going to be upset because I don't want him on this baseball team anymore. After the PED suspension, after the leaving, after getting suspended without talking to his teammates, after not contributing enough when he came back in the regular season this year, I can't do another year of Jose Alvarado. That might be an emotional decision. And you can tell me in the comments if I'm crazy for not wanting him back as like a setup man to Joan Duran. But that's just where I'm at with Jose Alvarado. I don't want to see him on this team anymore. So I say go. So my stays through the pitching staff, just to give it to you again. Nola, Wheeler, Sanchez, Luzardo, Walker, stay. Ranger, go. Strom, Duran, they stay. Kerkering, go. Buehler, go. Meza, go. Like all of these guys that you look at who we were just talking about, Jose Alvarado, go. There are a lot of spots that are going to be up for grabs in this Phillies bullpen. And Dave Dombrowski is going to have to rebuild it. And it can't be Jordan Romano and Joe Ross like he did last year as the replacements for two All-Stars and Jeff Hoffman and Carlos Estevez, one who was leading Major League Baseball in saves for most of the year, the other who's about to pitch in the World Series. That's a miss by Dave Dombrowski. Also, I got some comments on yesterday's episode where he did stay or go for position players. Well, who are you going to replace these guys with? It's a 30-minute podcast. I can only fit so much in per episode. Trust me, for all of the guys I'm saying go, we will, over this offseason, replace them with free agents that I would want the Phillies to sign. Realistic ones. This is not just going to be like go out and sign Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman and all of these guys that are incredible talents and the salary be damned, right? No, I will give you realistic answers. This is just the opening of the spots. So bear with me. Continue to watch the episodes because we put out great content Monday through Friday every day. But I will give you solutions to the problems I'm creating by the guys that I want to leave. But the Phillies may also have a solution, or already have a solution, I should say, to Ranger Suarez walking out the door, if that's what indeed happens. And I think that's what's going to happen. He's such an interesting case, though, that we're going to take a deeper dive into his specific free agency situation coming up. Why I don't think the Phillies should retain Ranger Suarez, or rather pay him the exorbitant amount that he's going to get. I'll tell you why as we continue today's episode. Let's talk about FanDuel first, though, because the NFL season's rolling along, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put down $5, and if it hits, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I will tell you right now, I feel great about this. If you're a new customer, this is what I would put my $5 bet on to win $300 in bonus bets. The Birds are playing the G-Men this weekend. New York took it to them a couple weeks ago on Thursday Night Football. Now they come to the link. The Birds are winning that game. They're winning it by 1 billion. This is going to be a rout. Just take the Birds money line. Put that $5. The Birds will be heavily favored, but you will get $300 in bonus bets if that bet wins. And then you can use that $300 in bonus bets to bet props and parlays and futures and money line and spread and everything you want to bet on FanDuel because they got everything. It's the best. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel is just the absolute best. Also want to talk about our friends over at Monarch Money. because, man, you got to get your finances in line. And Monarch Money can help you with that. Let's be honest. Most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track. And that can mean leaving money on the table. And that's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. It's really helped me organize all of my accounts and track my spending. I've got my money in a bunch of different places, from investments to apps that save your money to just my regular bank accounts. You load in all your information to Monarch and it puts it all together without you even having to touch a spreadsheet. It's super easy to load in. And also, if you have someone you're managing your finances with, a spouse or a partner, you can add them in so that everything is tracked together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money's going and how to make it work harder for you. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. And make sure you use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Ranger Suarez is such an interesting free agency case because on one hand, he is an undeniable talent. If everything went out the window as far as finances are concerned, Ranger Suarez is on my baseball team every single darn time. I love the guy, and I love the pitcher that he is, what he brings to this team, what he does on the mound defensively, picking hitters apart. Let's not have revisionist history if he were to sign with another team and say, well, he wasn't really that good anyway. That's fine. The Phillies can let him walk. No, I will be sad when I get the notification that Ranger Suarez has agreed to a deal with whatever team he's going to agree to a deal with. But I still believe that he is not going to be signing with the Philadelphia Phillies. And the reason why is twofold. One, it's the money. Like, he is going to be expensive. Spotrac has him at 6 years, $161.6 million as the estimated value on a free agent contract. Now, this is a guess, but they normally do pretty darn well at looking at those types of things. That's just a smidge under $27 million a year. For reference, Bryce Harper is making 25. Now, I know, Bryce sucked through the postseason. What? Here's my point, right? Are you going to, with a rotation that will also include Sanchez, Luzardo, Nola on a long-term expensive deal, Wheeler when he comes back healthy, and I guess we assume Andrew Painter will take one of those spots. Are you going to then, with 5 viable options, as long as Wheeler is healthy, bring Ranger Suarez back? I don't know how you can justify spending nearly $27 million a year over the next 6 years on that guy. And it's not just the finances, right? It's also because you have Andrew Painter waiting in the wings. You have an option there. Kyle Schwarber, you don't have an option to replace. JT Realmuto, you don't have an option to replace, at least not within the organization. And the more you do outside the organization, the more you give up as far as prospects, if it's a trade, or you give up in familiarity with a locker room that's been together for a while. So that's why I need those two guys back. And Ranger, I can't do it. Concessions have to be made somewhere. And the Phillies are strong at starting pitching, so they can afford to make those concessions. Here's the thing with Ranger. The dirty part of this, as much as I love who he is when he's on the mound and at his best, there is reality to the conversation of how sustainable is his performance year in and year out. Not from an ability standpoint, from an availability standpoint. Injuries have marred Ranger Suarez's professional baseball career. There has been part of it that has been on him, where being in the best possible shape has not always been realized by Ranger Suarez. And I'm not saying, oh, he's lazy, he's fat, he's out of shape. No, but there have been times where it seems that his preparation has not allowed him to remain healthy throughout the course of a season. This year, he was pretty darn healthy and he was really damn good. But can you make a sizable investment in that guy? It's tough when you look at all the factors of you have a safety net. It is a strength of your team, so you can mitigate that loss better than losses in other areas. He will be very expensive, and you'd have to take on the risk of injuries potentially costing you if that is your investment. And all of that just says, sorry, Ranger, your time here in Philadelphia is over. It's a cold business, man. And would I rather see Ranger Suarez on this team than not? Absolutely. But I can't just live in this fantasy baseball world of sign whoever you want, trade for whoever you want. The money doesn't matter. It does. And that's why, to me, Ranger Suarez is not coming back. And if you are looking at this baseball team and saying they cannot win with a rotation of Sanchez, Luzardo, Wheeler, Painter, Nola, let me just read to you the Toronto Blue Jays rotation, who will be taking on the Dodgers in the World Series. They are the American League champions. And their rotation currently is Kevin Gausman, Shane Bieber, Trey Savage, Eric Lauer, and Bowden Francis. And Bowden Francis is even on the injured list, so they've been just using those four guys, really. I mean, you have some nice names on there, but I would take the Phillies without Ranger Suarez over that rotation. You can win with the guys that the Phillies would be bringing back. It's a concession you have to make. It's not a fun one, but that's where I stand on the Ranger Suarez conversation. So I don't think he's back, and I'm okay with that. That's the move that I would make. But Bryce Harper not coming back? Where in the world is this coming from? Is there anything that can substantiate the rumors of, a potential Bryce Harper trade this offseason? And where in the world is this coming from? We'll talk about where the people who are saying that are dead wrong, but also why they have the right to be bringing it up as we continue today's episode. Let's talk about our friends over at Game Time, though, because, man, they are the best when you need to get tickets. I've been telling you, I just got back from a trip to Minnesota watching Eagles-Vikings. I got my tickets through Game Time. It was such an easy process. There's nothing like catching a game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, there's really nothing like it. But actually getting the tickets, it can be difficult. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it. It's supposed to be fun going to these great games and events. And that's why I use Game Time, because they make it fun. They give the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee, which means you're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. The app makes it super simple for you. You can even see the exact view from your specific seat before buying. We got technology. It's 2025. Game Time uses it to give you the best ticket buying experience possible. It's not just sports, comedy, concerts, theater. If you're buying tickets to something, you got to buy them through Game Time. And if you haven't used Game Time before, there's a great deal that they're offering just for you for listening to Locked On Phillies. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, and download Game Time today. Bryce Harper getting traded? Where in the world are these rumors coming from? I'll tell you where. Because as much as I would like to just say, clickbait, rage bait, pure speculation, there was a very interesting answer from Dave Dombrowski in his media availability, the end of season presser that I keep referencing, where he talked about Bryce Harper and whether or not he's still an elite talent. And we'll have to see if he gets back to that elite level. Say, still a great ball player, right? But elite, Dave Dombrowski seemed to balk at that a little bit. And that's not something that we've heard in conversation about Bryce Harper from this organization. It's always been, he's our guy, he's our leader, he's an elite level talent, he's a must-have guy on this team. So Dombrowski being a little bit less than effusive about his praise for Bryce Harper at the end of the year might open the door to some to say, well, what is the situation with Bryce in Philly? Remember, he did want an extension on his already lengthy contract. That was a conversation a little over a year ago that we had plenty. The Phillies did not want to do that because he's already locked down for such a long time. They have other things that are higher up in their priorities. And that kind of storyline went by the wayside, right? Now, if you think that a Scott Boras client is sitting there and talking to his agent and saying, oh, okay, well, they don't seem like they want to do it, so we won't ask for more money, you're crazy. That still exists in some space, whether it's Boras-driven, Harper-driven, whatever. And I don't think they're going to get it. But if you don't think that Bryce Harper still would like a contract extension and more money per year than what he's getting right now, I think you got your head in the sand. But there are plenty of players. I'd be willing to bet every single player in the history of professional sports wishes they were paid more. Even the highest paid athletes of all time would take an extra 100,000, 500,000, million if you offered it to them, right? So that's reality of players wanting to make their money. It's part of the reason we may not have a baseball season in 2027, but that's a conversation for later on in the offseason when we talk about the looming work stoppage. But I understand why people hear that from Dave Dombrowski of like, we'll see if Bryce Harper can get back to the elite level. We're going to have to see. And say, well, could things be different between Bryce and the Philadelphia Phillies? Because it's been all love up until this point. But things feel a little bit more tense. But then I saw something from Joel Sherman, who is joining a podcast, and Joel Sherman does great work covering Major League Baseball. He talked about how he would not be 100% shocked if Bryce Harper was traded this offseason. And that I will respond to by saying, I will not be 100. I will not be 1,000. I will not be 1 million. I will be 1 billion% floored if Bryce Harper is traded by the Philadelphia Phillies this offseason. It is not happening. And it is not because of Dave Dombrowski, and it is not because of Preston Mattingly, and it is not because of John Middleton. It is because Bryce Harper has a no trade clause, which means for him to be traded from the Philadelphia Phillies, he would have to entirely facilitate the trade. Not only tell them, trade me, tell them where to and how. Bryce Harper just had like his 14,000th kid. Him and his family are very settled in Philadelphia. He said when signing with the Philadelphia Phillies, which feels like forever ago now, that he wanted a place where he could build a family and be settled and secure and spend the rest of his career in a city that he wants to raise a family in. Right? He's not just a baseball player. He is a person. So you're telling me that that guy, with that goal in mind, is going to, because of 2 quick postseason exits and maybe his president of baseball operations making a backhanded stab at him about, hey, you wanted more money on this current contract. Well, let's see if you're still elite because we didn't see it this year. And he's going to just uproot his family and go somewhere else. Now, do I know if Bryce Harper is going to finish his career as a Philadelphia Philly? That feels somewhat up in the air, right? More so now than it had in the past. He felt like a forever Philly. I don't know anymore. But as far as this offseason is concerned, if you think Bryce Harper is going anywhere, you do not know his contract, you do not know the person, you do not know the organization, you do not know the situation. He ain't moving, he ain't leaving, he ain't getting traded. Mark it down, clip it, save it for your records. It's not happening. So anybody that peddles the Bryce Harper could get traded stuff, you are flat out uninformed. Or you are informed and you're saying something that you want to get reaction from. I will not be doing that on this podcast. And frankly, unless something ridiculous comes out from a high-level MLB insider, I won't be mentioning it again. I'll respond to comments if you believe that the Phillies should trade him. Like, you can believe what they should do all you want. I'm telling you, they will not do it. They're not trading Bryce Harper. He doesn't want to be traded. It's not going to happen. Number 3 is here for the long haul. For better or for worse, some fans may be saying at this point, but he's going to be here. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Coming up tomorrow, we are going to take an interesting look at the work stoppage looming in 2027. How does that affect what the 2025-26 offseason could be for contending teams like the Philadelphia Phillies? We'll take a look into that, and we'll also dive into just a look at where the offseason has been so far for the Phillies in comments. It's been quiet. Is that a good thing? World Series still going, so I'm not saying, they should have made moves, but you understand. We're going to read some tea leaves. So a lot of stuff still to get into, and you don't want to miss any of it. So make sure that you're joining us day in and day out here on Locked On Phillies. Be part of our Everydayers Club, right? Join in and subscribe to the YouTube. It's free and easy. It'll get you notifications when new episodes are posted. We're also available wherever you get your podcasts. So if you can't watch, you can listen wherever you are. Phone, laptop, tablet. It's super easy to find Locked On Phillies everywhere. So we'd love if you join us every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I'll talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.